Hello, everybody. My name is Louis, and as I'm sure you all know, I am raising money to do a campaign with Living Paintings about Doctor Who. And I have the great pleasure of saying that today I'm joined by one of my favourite doctors, Mr. Tom Baker. How are you?
Oh, I'm radiant, radiant. Yes.
That's good. Thank you so much for joining us. We
Oh,
really
yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. So if you don't mind, I've got a couple of questions for you, just a few
Hmm.
questions. Um, So obviously you were the doctor for a long time, 7 years, which I believe is still the longest that a doctor served, if my memory is correct. Over that whole time, was there anything that you particularly enjoyed, or something that you would like to redo if you had the opportunity?
No, I had a happy time most of the time because they accepted what I had to offer, because as you know, it's not really an acting part. It's they choose a doctor and he plays it in his own style. So, I mean, I wasn't acting when I was in Doctor Who. I was just saying Doctor Who lines. But it was just Tom. I mean, in a sense, I am Doctor Who because I talk that nonsense all the time. I like to amuse people. I'm a fantasist, like the next braggart. So it was all very friendly, and playing a benevolent alien was very, very easy. No one has ever failed as Doctor Who because he is what I just said, a benevolent alien, and very hard, impossible to dislike, I think.
Okay, that's interesting you say that. And the other question that I had for you is obviously you're now doing audio adventures with Big Finish. Quite a while after, obviously you were the Doctor. What was that like for you? Doing these audios. I guess during lockdown, otherwise it would have been quite different. But what was it like recording these audios, and what was it like getting back into character for these after so long?
Well, as I've hinted rather broadly just now, there's no question of getting back into character. I mean, I just, you know, read out the lines as well as I could to be the same character, to be the Doctor. People don't want heroes to change, um, and heroes don't want to change either. I don't think. Anyway, this hero didn't want to change because there was nothing to change to. I The characteristics of that character I played were really characteristics of me, really, a friendly, rather dotty person, bit pretentious and everything like that, but meaning well and quite amusing and not at all mean spirited. So there you are. I've just described myself.
So you found it quite easy then to obviously to go
Oh,
from
terribly easy.
TV.
Yes, it's terribly easy when you've got all lines. And not only that, you've got a pretty girl looking at you all the time and nodding. There's nothing real about that, but it was, yeah, it was just a pleasure and um, and no effort. I slipped from the visual into the audio, and and I the people who direct me in the audio, they all know about me, and we get on like a house on fire. And so I just slip in. My wife supervises the sound recording here from home, and away we go and have a good time. Every couple of weeks we have a few hours with me being a hero again.
Nice. Well, that's really good. Thank you for answering them. Um, would you mind if I told you a little bit about this campaign that I'm working on?
Yes, go on, tell me.
Uh, Sorry, you go. I spoke over you. Sorry.
I mean,
Uh,
you're going to tell me about it?
yeah,
You,
if you don't mind.
no, I'd like that. Go ahead.
So basically, what it is I'm completely blind myself, and this is aimed at blind and partially sighted children and adults. Because Doctor Who appeal to everybody. And Living Paintings produce these books, which are raised plastic images of characters. And there weren't any for Doctor Who, and I thought Doctor Who's such a family show, always has been about families gathering around and watching it together, and the Living Paintings are all about uniting families as well. So I thought, well, I'll contact them about maybe doing a Doctor Who based pack, and they said yes, and we set up a crowdfunder to raise the money, you know, to make this happen, and it's all gone a bit mad. We've had a lot of support from people like yourself, and it's all just kind of snowballed from there. And I hope that the pictures, which also have like an audio description track that goes along with them, so they describe the picture to you, you know, all the colours, what clothes the doctor's wearing, etc. They describe them to you, and from this audio description, whoever's reading it, um, and they describe what it's like, and it just helps you as a blind person to build up a mental image of what it looked like. Because obviously, for someone like myself, I can't see any of it, so I have no idea what what a lot of these characters look like.
I mean, he's kind of tall and got rather nervous, large eyes. He nods a lot and has big teeth, which are his own, I understand. I checked my wife and said they are mine. And he's very friendly and heroic and whimsical and is kind, yes, and often silly. So, in other words, he's very, very human. So because he's so very, very human, I should have failed, shouldn't I? Because the doctor, in fact, is an alien and comes from somewhere else. But I mean, I don't know anything about being an alien or anything, but I know about being Tom Baker. And so I offered Tom Baker, and they said, that'll do us, really. And some of them said, my God, he's so alien. When, of course, I wasn't aware of that. I thought I'm very ordinary and humane and irresistible.
Well, you definitely united a lot of generations of Doctor Who. My parents grew up in the 70s and they remember you very vividly. So obviously through them, I know about your Doctor and that kind of thing. And I know about the long scarf, the very long scarf. My dad tried to explain how long the scarf was because I couldn't get my head around that. But yeah.
Well, all those things that I rather exaggerated, you know, because they were offered to me, and the scarf, certainly I made as much as of a fuss as I could about it and tripped over it a lot, and it got funnier and funnier, and the fans liked it, and they started making long scarves, and sometimes I went to fan meetings, or whatever you call them, you know, Doctor Who Appreciation Society. And in the winter, it was quite funny to see 700 people in long scarves, and quite a lot of them stumbling all over the place, but all laughing good-naturedly. Because, you know, the thing is, it's basically a kind of charming and simple and generous, but rather preposterous sort of story, isn't it? The idea of someone who can travel through time and space, and someone who constantly gets it wrong, and yes, somehow remains the hero, and nearly always wins because of either the villains were idiots or I outsmart them, and I always have all the best lines, and actors love having the best lines, and often I overstress them, I'm afraid, but there you are, it's all in the past now, and I'm sorry if I overdid it, but I was doing the best I could.
Well, you did, you know, a lot of people, including myself, probably enjoyed it. You mentioned the scarf. One last question then. Did that happen a lot? Did you trip over the scarf? Because it never
Oh,
seems
of
to
course,
happen on TV.
yeah, of course I tripped over it because it was ridiculously long. It was a very, very bad idea, but it was funny. It was preposterous. Again, you know, I used to trade, and if people used to say, well, it's silly or you're silly, I say, listen, you understand, I don't come from this world. I come from, you know, Gallifrey and the constellation of Kasterborous, you know, where we do things differently there, where it's considered terribly smart to trip over your scarf. And so there was always a glib riposte from me to justify why I was behaving so outrageously or often being so silly, but all the time trying to be generous and on the side of good, you know, trying to be a goodie, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Well, that's a great pleasure. I'm sorry it was so short because I could go on talking about myself for a long, long time, you know, given the opportunity. But most people will do what you've just done and cut me off short. So goodbye, and I hope it helps.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Well, it does. It does. Thank you.